Taking It Down on Video. We're an arm of Taking It Down, the podcast, which is audio only, and in any podcast app of your liking. You can find it on the alabamatake.com as well. That's our home site, our production company, if you'll allow me. While I'm at it, subscribe to the Alabama Takes newsletter. It's brand new. It's for goings on the sites, a few more ramblings. You'll find it under subscribe. You can also go to alabamatake.com/newsletter. Get you signed right up. Raz and I are back. We're here. We're going to dig a little deeper into the pilot of the famed television series Twin Peaks, the original from 1990. We started as kind of a look back, and then we skimmed the surface of some of the elements of the pilot. And yeah, we want to get into the pilot as deep as we can today. And we're going to be spoiling a series that aired 34 years ago. My math's right there. So here we go, Twin Peaks. A quick note, maybe clarification from last week. The population was originally on the sign as 5,100 something. But the network asked it to be bumped up because they thought that would be unrelatable.
Really?
Isn't that some shit?
I had no idea. That's news to
me.
So
much. And by the way, now that I'm going to watch it again, I'm just going to treat it like it's a 5,000 population.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it always seems that way to me.
Yeah.
It really does seem that way. So, that makes sense.
This town is more of a Fayette than a Decatur.
I agree.
Alabama people. You get that one? Is this the best television pilot ever?
Well, you talked about, digging into it, and this isn't something you dig into with a little garden shovel. This takes a substantial digging device, and it depends on how deep you want to go. And it's so multi-layered, and there's so many different stories just built into a pilot episode that, to me, it's amazing. It's really a great first episode of anything I've ever seen. That was intriguing, that I immediately wanted more of.
It's bigger than the foot radius mound of dirt Cooper finds.
Absolutely.
First watched it being 14. It's about the mystery and now I realize it was also a whole lot about this distinct style of horror I'd never encountered from Lynch, because I'd only watched Dune, and that's not his forte much. Those two were plenty for me as a viewer, but when you get a little distance removed, or you watch it a second or third or fourth time, there's more. That's what you're talking about. And I'll just add a quick note for viewers. You discussed last week that sublime serenity you get from the opening and the theme music. You've seen Angelo Badalamenti discuss how he and Lynch came up with that. Have you seen that YouTube video?
It's been a while, but I know what you're talking about.
But Lynch directs him to come up with the theme, and he's playing his Fender Rhodes, and he mimics Lynch, and it's very funny, but it's also amazing.
I've heard someone describe that, and I thought this was a great way to describe it. Talking about the score is waking up from a nightmare.
Damn.
And feeling, calm because the nightmare is kind of over.
That score is something I'm going to get to maybe again. Those nice scenes of the Northwest, pleasant morning with Pete Martell getting ready for fishing. By the way, a little trivia question for you. You'll know this because you recently watched. The opening character is not who you'd expect. It is...
The opening character is Josie Packard.
Josie Packard putting on lipstick, and that is not what you would think. It's almost like a "who is this" kind of moment.
I had to really think about that, but it's very fascinating that it's Josie Packard, and she is the wife of the supposedly deceased owner of the Packard Sawmill, which is the major economic driver in the town of Twin Peaks.
That's right. And the opening line, just for trivia buffs, is "gone fishing."
And also, when Pete Martell, just before he discovers the wrapped body of Laura Palmer, the foghorn blows, and he says the lonesome foghorn blows, and then he turns around and recognizes the plastic.
That's right. The girl in plastic. A dead girl is wrapped in plastic. It's something like that. He says to the sheriff's
She's
office.
dead.
She's dead. That's his opening line because
Yeah.
it's almost as if he knew her, or maybe they don't until they flip her over.
At that point, I don't. He didn't know who it was. He just said she's dead, wrapped in plastic, and
Yeah,
and then they discover who it is later when they turn her over.
yeah. The guy playing Pete Martell, whom I forget his name. You know?
Nance,
Okay. He's doing
Jack
a little.
Nance, or something
I
like
think that's
that.
right. He's doing a little overacting in some of his scenes, which is funny. It contrasts with such great acting you get from Kyle MacLachlan, who is movie. He is movie theater. You go to the theater to see him, and now here he is on an ABC broadcast television show. It's kind of odd. Laura's
Well,
mom. Yes.
with just Pete, he is last episode we talked about. That one of the things I mentioned was uh, people in Twin Peaks living in quiet desperation,
Uh,
and he is certainly one of those. He's in a marriage with somebody that they despise each other,
a loveless
and
marriage. Mm-hmm.
he gets no respect from anybody, and he just kind of lives his quiet life in despair, in bitterness, resentment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all underneath this person who's very friendly and happy and just kind
Chipper.
of, yeah, just very chipper.
I'm gonna kind of glide through some of the plot elements here. Laura's mom's reaction after the sheriff tells Leland she's got him on the phone. Boy, that's something that is just unsettling.
There are a number of scenes like that, and Lynch does such a great job of directing those scenes.
Yeah.
And one of the things that sticks out to me with that one is Leland drops the phone at the Great Northern, and
Yeah.
Lynch just pans a long, slow pan all the way down the phone. And it was one of those coiled phone cords that you could extend from one room to another. This is
Mm-hmm.
really, cordless phones were out, but many houses still didn't have cordless phones, and
No.
many offices didn't have cordless phones even. And Lynch just took the time to pan from the phone all the way down the cord, and you can hear all the emotional breakdowns
Mm.
occurring in the background,
Yeah.
and then just those battlementy, just kind of musical elements just makes it very tense.
Yeah. Yeah. It's every one of these scenes. You mentioned the ceiling fan last week. How there's just long shots of the ceiling. It just gives you this dread. You feel like something's going to pop out at any moment, and but Lynch does it in his own way. It's not a horror movie kind of, oh my God, something's going to pop out.
Well, but it's not a horror movie in that this is very much real life. These are things that people have to deal with, in small towns. Things like this happen,
Hmm.
and you can kind of see, and think about, what would this, how would we react if it happened, in our town or at our
Yeah.
school. And
Yeah.
another scene very similar that where, I think that Lynch does a great job is when the high schoolers start to learn that something has
Yes.
happened.
And it's a
And
similar
and it's
outburst of
almost
emotion.
like there's such a silence when the deputy is talking to the teacher,
Hmm.
and there's almost a sense through the silence like all the air is being sucked out of the classroom. And then all of a sudden the girl is outside and she screams and like runs
Yes.
across the courtyard. And to me, those are just great parts of the movie or of the show, and how Lynch is able to describe those emotional elements just through film.
Yeah. What you called it a movie. It aired as a Sunday night movie, ABC Sunday night movie. Y- that girl screaming across the courtyard almost is like apocalyptic. Like, oh my God, the world's ending. Which is how that felt for them. It being Laura, the popular, beautiful
Homecoming
homecoming queen.
Queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you also know that her close friends, when they're looking around at each other and they notice her empty seat, they know a few of the big secrets. They're looking around
Yes.
thinking, oh, we were with her last night. We know where this could have gone.
Yeah,
Lynch
you can
is,
tell. You can tell there's more to Laura Palmer than what meets the eye. Just
Mhm.
with like what you're saying, people's nods to each other and knowledge of a closer knowledge of who she really is.
And yeah, and there's layers upon layers with Laura too. Lynch is prone to get odd performances out of his actors, and I think that's on purpose because it's in all of his movies. But Ray Wise as Leland is just solid. His is not odd in the pilot. It's good acting right down the middle.
But it gets really strange later in
Oh,
Leland's
he makes
story
the
arc.
shift. Yeah. You talk about the score, man. It moves from beautiful to sinister in a heartbeat. It's so scary.
Well, here's another question that I have, and I'm interested in your take. I want
Yeah,
to know who is booking musical acts at the Roadhouse.
that comes up so much in The Return. We joked about that a lot with The Return on the audio podcast years ago. That's funny.
But that
You,
Julie Cruz
Julie Cruz,
scene,
yeah,
uh,
singing over fighting.
yeah,
Yeah,
atmospheric jazz in a biker bar.
but they dig it. It's a cultured biker bar. A key moment, it's slight, albeit slight, is Cooper's reading of the diary where Laura questions, "Does this mean I'll never grow up?" And
Mm.
it's I'm telling you, it's slight. He zooms right by it, but it's a nice moment and encompasses some of what Lynch was getting at. If Laura is Americana, if Laura is innocence and beauty, you know.
And you talked about the mound of dirt in the
I did.
at the crime scene,
Mhm.
and thus the letter, fire walk with me,
Mm.
which is a big element of the story, and I think that Lynch is getting at just what you mentioned in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What happens when innocence and beauty courts fire and evil? The shift to the train cars, there is something about the outside sets that really hammer it home for me. And those train car, anytime they're there, even just the shots of those two or three abandoned train cars are enough to send shivers down your spine.
It's really creepy.
Yeah. Kyle McLaughlin's performance here is just the best of the bunch. He was nominated, I think, for this particular episode, deservedly, I think. And that train car is where we get that phrase "Fire walk with me" written in blood on a very small piece of paper. Creepy unto itself, but the context of the train car makes it really scary.
Uh, and then Andy Brennan with his second breakdown where
Hmm.
he can't take it, and there's comedic elements to that where he cries uncontrollably when they discover Laura's body, and then he
Hmm.
does the same thing again at the crime scene.
Hmm.
Which it's kind of funny to see the deputy break down, but then also it's like that's probably a pretty accurate way that somebody would react in one of these small towns whenever
Yeah.
they see that something as evil as what occurred has gone down and affected somebody that they knew quite closely.
Yeah, just another example of how they know each other at the very least. And he has that super sad and sweet moment where he's crying on the phone to his girlfriend. We later find out, it's clear later. He tells her, "Don't tell Harry I cried at this one," but he was obviously in tears. Uh, Here's what we'll do next week. We'll dive more into Cooper Comes to Town, and I definitely want to talk about Ronette Pulaski. That's probably where we'll pick up with that name right there.
And clean fingernails.
The fingernails. It hurts me to think about. That's it for this week. We'll get in the back half of the pilot next time and inch into some of season 1 down the road. Thank y'all for watching and join us next week. See ya.